In the Great Lakes Bay region, Saginaw County is has the highest obesity rate of all counties in Michigan.
Welcome back to the Talk Midland podcast. My name is Logan Richetti with Modern Realty. Today I have Tina Swanton, Junior League of the Great Lakes Bay region.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I nailed it.
Good job.
What is the Junior League?
Yeah, so the Junior League is a women's organization who focuses on volunteerism, really empowering women to say, like, these are needs in the community. And we do leadership training for those women, but use the volunteer opportunities as ways for them to learn a new skill and provide things back to the community. So in general, like, as they're learning different things, it's going to allow them, when they're done with their time, I guess, with the Junior League, to go and serve on boards of nonprofits, or because they've gained new skills, be able to better themselves in different roles throughout the community.
How do you attract women to come and be part of your organization? How do they find out about it? And what is it about the organization that attracts people to want to be part of it?
Yeah, so we're continuing to do different events, whether it be specific recruitment events or our annual fundraiser is usually a large event that people learn about us. We do things through social media as well. I do want to also talk about our annual event, which is the Festival of Trees. But as far as why do people usually want to join, we hear a lot that people want to be able to give back to the community. They want to go volunteer. They want to meet new people, but they don't necessarily want to go do that on their own. They like to do that as a group. It allows them to network with different people and organizations. And so we get a lot of people who maybe they've moved to the area and it's a way to meet people, or they're just starting in a career and they want to gain some new skills. And so this is just like a less scary way to go give back to your community when you can do it with like-minded women. However, most people learn about the Junior League through the Festival of Trees, and that is our annual event that we put on every November. So this year it's November 14th to the 16th. It's at the Great Hall here in Midland. And we partner with businesses across the region to decorate a Christmas tree. So we give either a tree, wreath, or garland, whatever it is that they say that they want to decorate, to that organization. And then they can decorate it however they want to promote their business. They can put other items with it. Some people have decorated a tree by literally setting a tree inside a grill because it was Ace Hardware, and wanting to put a bunch of stuff on there for that. We have had, like Great Lakes Bay Pride has done a tree where the entire tree has basically been a giant rainbow, and really just talking about what it is that they do. So it can be anything. Some of these trees are very elaborate. And it's raffled off. And so the funds that are raised in those 3 days that we are open to the community is really the way that we can fund our organization and give back to the community. So it's how all of the trainings are funded, that we can send people through different places across the country, really, through AGLI, which is our Junior League International, who provides leadership trainings. So it's all funded that way. And then we also use the funds that we raise at that event to provide grants to nonprofits in the community that align with our focus area. So our focus area is actually food security. And so we want to make sure that nobody in our community is hungry, when really the reality is within our region, each of our 4 counties of the region, food insecurity rates are anywhere from 15 to 20% of those counties, when the national average is only 13.5. So that really shows the need in our community. So that's an area that a lot of our women put time and effort, volunteer opportunities, grant funds, all of that to give back.
Okay, there's a lot going on there. So the Junior League is a nationwide organization, and you are the president of the local chapter. Is that the right way to describe it?
It is a worldwide organization. I believe we are in 7 countries. Most of them are in the United States. I think there are just shy of 300 chapters. Yes, and so I'm the president for the Great Lakes Bay region.
And how many members do we have locally in your chapter?
So active members, we are in the low 40s.
Wow.
However, a member can go what we call sustaining after 7 years of being active. So while they're an active member, they sit on usually multiple committees, most of the time two, one that is for our general operations and one that is specifically for Festival of Trees. Um, and so they're basically active, working in these different committees, doing different skills, and giving back to the community for 7 years. They can then choose to go sustaining, which then they are still a part of the league, still support the league, but they're not usually actively working within the committees. So for the number of actives, our low 40s. If we include our sustainers, I think we're around 200.
Wow. So if you're an active member of your group, what is the time commitment? What is the what's it like to be a part of the group? Is it something you meet every week, once a quarter? How often and how engaged are the members?
Yeah, so that really varies on what is your role that you're serving. We have a board of about 6 people. And then we have a leadership team that has ranged somewhere between like 7 and 10. And those are really the chairs of the different committees. And so we have a monthly general membership meeting, and usually our meetings are active from September to May. Our league year truly runs June 1st to May 31st, but our committees are usually active starting in September. So membership meetings are once a month. And then it just kind of varies that you might have a committee meeting once a month that you sit on. If you're sitting on a festival tree committee, you'll start earlier in the summer to be
Hmm.
prepared for a fall event. If you sit on the board, but pretty much everything that you're sitting on is monthly.
Okay,
So it
so
just varies on the position you're holding.
sure. And it sounds like you take a little break in the summer,
Mhm.
but once a month general meeting, and then if you're on a specific board or you have specific roles, there's a little bit extra, but it's not too bad. And then we were also mentioning there's a lot of volunteer events that happen.
On the Community Impact Committee, they put together what it is that we're doing for the community. So when we have our monthly membership meeting, they will do what's called Done in a Meeting. We partner with a local nonprofit, and they'll let us know, like, this is basically our wish list. These are things that we would need in order to do whatever it is, X, Y, or Z. And so our Done in a Meeting is we reach out to the members to say, we're partnering with this organization and these are their needs, and bring what you can. So members will just come and donate whatever those items are, that we then donate over to the nonprofit. We also then will go and do service hours for volunteer work. In September, we have what's called Find the Good Day. And so that is September 18th, that we went and made meals at the McNally Hospitality House.
Oh,
So we cooked breakfast for dinner for anybody who was staying there. So that's a partner that we regularly work with every year. And Find the Good Day is an event or a day that started through Junior League International. And so really all of the different chapters celebrate that day. And it's just all about go do something good in your community, spread kindness, give back in some way. And so that's the volunteer event that we did for that specific day. We have some volunteer events coming up where the league members might get together and they're going to go paint at the Underground Railroad. So they need some new painting done at their administration offices. And so we'll send volunteers to do that. Later this year, we're partnering with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, where some women will go and build beds to make sure that no child is sleeping on the floor. So there's always a variety of different volunteer opportunities that we'll do just to serve the community and partner with nonprofits in the area.
so the basic foundation is food security, but it sounds like there's additional opportunities to serve in other ways, and a lot of that comes from the connections that you have with other nonprofits and their needs.
Absolutely. So our focus area is food insecurity. And so usually somewhere between 70 to 80% of what we do either giving away grants or time spent in volunteering falls within that umbrella, but it doesn't mean that we don't do anything outside of that area. And in reality, food touches everything.
Mhm.
So even when we've partnered with like an animal shelter, people have questioned, well, how does that relate back to food insecurity? But the reality is, if there are families who are food insecure, if they have a pet, some people see those as their children.
Mhm.
And so there are families who will try to feed their pet before they put food on their own table.
Mm.
And if you are food insecure and you are struggling with basic needs, then you're probably also struggling with the basic needs to take care of that pet, right? And so, really, all of those things we can relate back in some way to what also touches food insecurity.
And how do you make the decisions of where to allocate your resources, both time and money?
Yeah, so that really falls on the Community Impact Committee. So they have all of those discussions, like as requests come in. Some of it comes down to, well, we only have so many members and there's only so much time. We want to try to make sure that it all the offerings fit different opportunities for each member. Some people have a very specific 9 to 5 job. We want to make sure that there's evening opportunities. Some members have flexible schedules and prefer to do it while their kids are in school. So maybe there's like a lunchtime opportunity, and then we try to have stuff on the weekends. And that way, then every member has an opportunity to sign up for something, even if they can't get to everything. And so the Community Impact Committee is really vetting how do we make sure we serve as many opportunities as possible, but also fit it within a way that helps our league members so that they have the opportunity to learn and grow and give back.
What is the constraint? Is the constraint opportunities to serve, money, or volunteer people?
That's a great question. I think it's a balance of all of the above.
Mhm.
Based on our current numbers, I think our biggest struggle is how many members do we have and how much time do they have, right? So
Mhm.
when you are talking about these type A, strong, independent women who
Mhm.
really do wear a lot of different hats, um, there really is still only so much time. I mean, most of them are mothers and are doing the after school. I got to drop off at soccer and volleyball and basketball, and this is happening.
Mhm.
And they already have their committee meetings that they're doing. And so to also say, well, now we're going to go build a bed or paint or whatever it is, there's still only so much time. And so the more members we have, obviously, the more we can spread them out and be able to do more.
Well, let's talk about that. Who is the ideal member for the group? Age or location or just general interests? Is it people that are trying to network? They just came, like you said earlier, they just came into town. They want to meet new pals, and so because the heart of a volunteer is pure. They do it because they want to serve, but they also have other options and other choices where they could go invest their time. So, what would be a reason or a good, compelling narrative for somebody listening that wants to volunteer, wants to get involved, wants to network and make new buddies and be around like minded people? Why should they reach out to the Junior League and maybe think seriously about joining?
Yeah, so the thing that's different about the Junior League is there are, like you said, a lot of different opportunities when it comes to giving back to the community. But the thing that sets apart Junior League from those is the leadership opportunities, the training opportunities. So the ideal member for us isn't about age, race, gender. I mean, we have a variety of all of those. It's really about, do you want the opportunity to learn more and have the opportunity to take on leadership roles, right? And so it's really about developing women, and we use the volunteer opportunities as ways to then practice those skills or gain some of those skills. So for us, it's about leadership first and then give back through that.
Okay, that's very interesting. There are not a lot of empowering areas for women specifically to go learn leadership skills that I can think of. So that makes it very unique.
Very unique. That is our specialty.
I like that. I got 4 daughters. We got to go in that direction.
I love that.
All right. So as you're talking, I'm thinking about the show Mad Men, and I know Betty was in the Junior League. Was it at some point a political organization, or does it have a political bend to it? or is it a service-based organization, or has it evolved over time? Or am I way off?
You are not way off.
Okay.
So we have a advocacy component. So we actually have a committee specifically on government affairs and advocacy.
Hmm.
And so one of the skills that we are teaching women is about how to advocate, how to be civic leaders.
Hmm.
We come together every year and do a day at the Capitol, and we go through and we focus on different things.
Who is Julie Snell, and what was her impact inside of the organization?
Yeah, so she was with the Junior League of the Great Lakes Bay region, and she led the charge for a foster care bill that covered multiple bills or topics underneath that, really focused on how to protect both the children and also the parents. So as people were either fostering or adopting children, really covering the fact that the Social Security number was then protected so that the biological parent wasn't racking up bills under that child's name or causing issues in other ways. So, yeah, as far as being civic leaders, we have taken the charge on a handful of different things. That's just one thing specific with one of our local members, who's basically known in Lansing for.
This bill. So this particular member saw a need, saw a problem going on in the foster care industry, having to do with Social Security and benefits and protecting the child's
Mhm.
interest in their, and of course the foster parents helping as well. So she and the group took action to lobby and create legislation, or promote legislation that solved this problem, protected these kids, and that's a major achievement out of your organization in the recent past. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then more recently, the Junior League was advocating on how to remove the address so that people who have struggled or in the past had domestic violence, they didn't want to have to be able to offer their address and still be able to vote.
Hmm.
So it was the Junior League who took the lead on something like that as well.
So how do these topics become introduced into the Junior League? Are they brought in by the members, or are they brought in by outside forces who are coming to the membership to ask for help? How does it originate, or both?
It could be either or
Yeah.
both. And so a lot of times it is stuff that happens where a league member somewhere, right, that they've seen a problem. And so they've just kind of brought it up. So it's usually like, hey, this is near and dear to my heart. So specifically, like with Julie, she had been a foster parent for a lot of different children, ended up actually adopting a couple of them, but she just saw it time and time again, like this is a problem. How do we address it? And so when you start rallying the troops to say, hey, you're going to have all of us at your doorstep, let's make a change, right? And so usually it's connected to somebody somehow to start it, but it could really come from the outside as well.
Let's go back to food security for a minute. When did that become the core issue for the local chapter? Has it always been, or is that a recent development? And who led that charge to make that decision?
So the Junior League has what's called an issue-based community impact, our IBCI, which also is known as our focus area.
Hmm.
So our IBCI has changed over the years. There has been times where it's been a focus on women and children with physical activity. I want to say 2, maybe 3 years ago now, there was a handful of women in the league saying, okay, so this has been our IBCI. Do we want to continue with volunteer opportunities that align with this? Or are there other interests and or needs in our community, interests in our league that we want to look at? And so the league decided, as part of their planning for the future, they would go through the process and bring in, like, we had a focus group with the CEOs from the 3 different United Ways from Saginaw, Bay, and Midland, and said, okay, what are the things that you're seeing? What are these great needs in the community? And I want to say there was about 6 or 7 different topics that we then had different leaders in the league really do research on. And then we went through a voting process, like what pulls at the members' heartstrings. These are all needs that have been brought forward. This is the information we've learned. These are different nonprofits or organizations we could partner with in each of these different areas. And then we went through a voting process as we continued to narrow it down. And food insecurity ended up being the area that rose to the top that the members said we want to rally around.
Well, food insecurity is one of those topics that you don't think about very often if you don't have that issue yourself. But even in Midland, I've volunteered at the Open Door a few times, and those rooms are packed every day in Midland. And you have Midland, Bay, Saginaw, and Gladwin, or what's the other county?
Isabella.
Isabella. Okay, so there's a lot of need across this region for this. I think it's a noble initiative to be focused on, and I think it's great that that's what you chose. How long has that been the focus?
I think we're going on 3 years for that one.
And how long do these focuses typically? What do they call them?
The IBCI, the
IBCI.
issue-based community impact.
How often do those rotate? Are they 10 years at a time, 1 or 2 years? It just varies.
It's not set for an amount of time. It really falls back on who the active members are at that time to say, one, is this truly still a need that we need to focus on? And is it an interest of the members that they want to do work around?
What has been one of the biggest challenges with attacking that initiative?
That's a great question. So when it comes to food insecurity, more times than not, the answer is, let's just feed people, right? And so how many times can you purchase food and hand it out? It turns into a food distribution. It turns into, how do we offer a meal? So I think when it comes to challenges, not necessarily just with the junior league, but in general, when looking at food insecurity, it's how do you take the time to go upstream because it needs to be a system change, right? And so 9 times out of 10, because the need is so great, we're continuing to do the Band-Aid approaches, right? It's all these people are drowning. How do we get them out of the river? We don't have time to go upriver and figure out why they're all ending up there, right?
Right.
And so that's what happens when it comes to food insecurity because the need is so great and people need it now, right? It's not I want food, it's I need food. And so I think that's the big challenge when we're looking at it from a standpoint of volunteers. How do we step into what's already happening so that we can be a part of actually making change, right? And not just being another person who's created a Band-Aid. So we want to do it through partnerships. We don't want to come in and think that we have we are the answer. We're not saying that, but how can we support all these different organizations who are doing good and at the same time look at it from, okay, are there ways for us to be in Lansing and advocate for different things, right? So I think a prime example is the state budget just came out, right? And so if you're looking at food as the topic, they have refunded the free meals at lunches. They've actually increased by $1.6 million to say we'll now not only fund public schools, but there's an opportunity for private schools to get that, which was not the case before. But then removed the 10 cents a meal program. So the 10 cents a meal program is to incentivize schools to purchase local when it comes to the produce. So if they were using local farmers for their produce, every meal they were reimbursed for, they got an extra 10 cents. So they removed that. And then they just put a clause into the free meals that said, but shop local when you can.
Why?
So that was their way of saying like, oh, we can remove all these funds to incentivize you to, shop local if we just make that comment, right? And that's not necessarily helping. But by having things like the 10 cents a meal program could have really been a system shift because now you're supporting local farmers. At the same time, you're giving better food to our students, right? And so it's a catch-22.
Well, this is why organizations like the Junior League exist. And there's really, as I understand it now, 2 levels. There's boots on the ground level, just delivering food to people who are very hungry and need food. Same thing with the pets and everything else.
Right.
That's the ground level volunteering and coordination and organization. But then, like you said, moving upstream to trying to cr- solve problems at a macro level, that takes policy. It takes budget, negotiations and priorities and lobbying and influence, and that's done at the political level. So I think it's very interesting that your organization works in both environments, and I'm very interested in both, frankly, and to see that you can align, the day to day needs and try to make an impact on the long term policies and the vision for how our state budget and local budgets and the local schools and everything else are distributed and organized. That's noble work because it does matter. And as we've just recently seen with these budget, negotiations and shutdowns and threats and all this different stuff, it turns into a political game. But at the end of the day, it's the people that receive these benefits and that pay for these benefits, frankly, are the ones that are affected. So I think it's great that you're doing that.
Thank you.
What would success look like in a big initiative for the junior league? What's one thing that you'd love to see happen?
Mm, that's a great question. I don't know if I have an answer for that one. One thing I would like to see happen.
Well, while you're thinking about it, the one that you brought up was the school lunch program for the kids, right? And just from friends and family watching that go down in the last couple of weeks, there was some impact and effect on people. How much they have to spend on their kids' food and da da da. So I think that's a big one. And I don't understand all of the interpersonal dynamics of the politics of that. They want to incentivize local produce to be purchased, but there's another side of that lobby that's not local, maybe that wants to have more incentives, and they're bigger maybe. So there's political forces at play is the bottom line. And you need people who study the issues, who understand the issues, and who can then go down to Lansing and lobby on behalf of the interests of those particular people to try to convince the lawmakers to create the priorities that achieve the objectives that we're trying to see. That's what politics is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether you like it or not, when you're watching and you're voting and you have organizations like the Junior League, somebody's got to be down there trying to work on behalf of these issues like food insecurity. So I don't know what success looks like. I don't know that you'll ever be able to not feed everybody, but I think every day that you help somebody eat that has a hard time finding food, I think that's success.
Yeah, I think when it comes to food insecurity, and some people have questioned what does it mean to be food secure? And ultimately, it's just to say, I always know where my next meal is coming from, right? And so I think there are so many times we take it for granted when people are frustrated and don't like the question, what's for dinner tonight? Because nobody wants to actually plan dinner. But the reality of families who are saying, what's for dinner tonight because they don't know how they're going to get it is a very different reality in our community, right? And so, honestly, I don't think food security is successful until everybody knows where their next meal is coming from. I think then it goes to the next level. I mean, we have the obesity rates that are continuing to rise. So in the Great Lakes Bay region, Saginaw County is has the highest obesity rate of all counties in Michigan.
Yikes.
Right. And so that's right here in our local region, one of our counties. That is not the thing you want the award for. But when you're talking about all of the chronic diseases that are connected to and related to obesity, so many people want to say, oh, just eat healthier. But when there's this very strong piece connected to that they don't eat healthier because they can't afford to, that's real, right? And so when you're talking about 20% of that county, is food insecure, you can't solve the next problem, when it comes to the chronic diseases, the obesity, because what are they doing? They're grabbing the extra donut after church because it's available, right? Or I went somewhere and they had this sitting out, so that's what I grabbed. Like, you can't control your health outcomes when you don't know what you're getting. And so I don't think food security success happens until we start seeing that everybody knows where the next meal is coming from. And then we can start working on what are all of the other issues that are attached to that. One of them being, our health outcomes are terrible because they can't afford to do something different.
Yeah, and that comes back to jobs and income wage growth and all the different economic forces that start the cycle, if you will. Because if you have more money, it's easier to buy better food and to make better choices.
So again, I will say food is connected to everything.
You're right. No doubt about that. How long have you been the president?
So our terms are 1 year. So I just started in June, and we'll go until May.
And what drove you or incentivized you to take on this role personally?
So when I first started with the league, I followed the track of community impact. For my real day job, I work for a nonprofit. I love the service aspect. And so I was on a track with community impact. I was chairing that. I went into then a leadership role. And so when I was approached by the board to ask if I would be interested in serving as the president-elect last year, I applied for that role.
And you're the CEO of which organization now?
The Saginaw Community Food Club and Kitchen, which is in Saginaw.
And what is that?
So that's a nonprofit grocery store. So here in Midland, you have the Bridge. So it's similar to that, but a different model. And so a food club is a membership model. So instead of purchasing food, people will purchase a membership. It's a sliding scale based on their income. And then all of the food, instead of having a price tag on it, it's set up as a point system. And so that ranges from 1 to 6 points. The healthier the food, the lower the points, to really incentivize healthy eating. People are not purchasing the amount of points that they get, but are given a set amount of points based on how many people are in their household. So if you and I make the same amount of money, our membership might fall at the same spot. So let's just say somewhere but like around $15, we'll just say. But if I come in with 6 kids and you don't have any kids, I obviously need more groceries, so I get more points to shop with.
And somebody who needs a little bit of help, how do they apply to be part of that program?
So we can serve people up to 200% of the poverty line. And so they can just come in and sign up as a member, but most of that will end up being referral based through the health systems and other nonprofits. That's where most people will come as far as members. So currently we're under construction. Our building is supposed to be done the beginning of 26, and so we will open shortly after that.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Is that organization connected to the Junior League in any way? Other than through you?
Well, that's actually a very interesting question because the Junior League actually gave the food club their very first grant to start the organization, to set up a board, to do all the marketing materials. And so there have been a couple opportunities during our capital campaign that the Junior League has either provided funding for and or partnered with us. They worked with the Food Policy Council that the food club actually came out of, did all the research for, and provided all the data to say that we wanted to bring this to Saginaw County. The Junior League funded that Food Policy Council to start the partnership-based community garden. That produce will come out of that garden to go to the food club. So the Junior League's been connected to a lot of different things that have been a part of the food club.
Safe to say you had a lot to do with that.
I like to connect dots, yes.
All right. So if anybody wants to join the Junior League or learn more about it, where would you send them?
You can visit our website at jlgreatlakesbay.org.
Tina, thanks for being on the Talk Midland podcast.
Thank you.